Hola, comrades from Wales, the UK, and particularly Cuba. Greetings from North Wales. From me, Councillor James Ball, to you, my Cuban comrades and comrades from Latin America. Solidarity. Yes, this is a rather special weekly vlog for me, because this week marks the 67th anniversary of the Cuban Revolution, the start of the Cuban Revolution, obviously led by Fidel Castro, sadly the late Fidel Castro. So yes, 26th of July movement. Obviously 26th was Sunday, the Sunday just gone. Today is Tuesday evening. And here is of course my long-term co-host and of course hero of the revolution, Comandante Che. Of course, you may or may not know that Che and Fidel didn't start off as revolutionaries, didn't start their lives as revolutionaries. They actually started off in what we would consider now the sort of upper middle class professions. Che was a doctor, medical doctor, an MD, and Fidel Castro was a law graduate on his way to becoming a lawyer, when they realised what they needed to do in their country, which of course had been previously under oppression from Spain, and there'd been a revolution then, of course, in the recentish history of Cuba. And at the time, of course, in the 50s, there was, of course, imperialist oppression from the United States, its proxies in as the States does even now in Venezuela, and well, I won't list all the countries. Just in South America I won't list them because this will be a long video. But anyway, so solidarity, comrades and friends and people. You may hear in the background I have some very well known popular music from the great island of Cuba, from the famous multi-million selling Buena Vista Social Club album. Pueblo Nuevo, this one is. Anyway, I recommend you give it a look up on Spotify or YouTube, which is what I'm listening to on now. Anyway, yes. So today's topic, after our congratulations to our comrades for surviving and flourishing for so long, is tied into the same topic really, and it's basically it's about class and opportunity here in the first world, leading G8 country that is the United Kingdom in 2020. And I'm going to illustrate it with my point with my own story really, which I suppose as well as any illustrates perhaps the some of the differences we don't hear about in the mainstream media between countries like Cuba and our own supposed first world leading society economy. Yes. Well, I'm going to give you a phrase now, bootstrapping. So bootstrapping, if you don't know what bootstrapping is, bootstrapping means, it's basically a term used often by people perhaps on the right of politics, who might say to you, you know, if you've come from a less fortunate background like you or I maybe, you know, you need to work hard and bootstrap yourself. You need to bootstrap your way out of the deprivation, the poverty that you were born in, brought up in. You know, it's up to you. It's your responsibility to bootstrap yourself. You know, you're not working hard enough. You're lazy. You're not intelligent enough. You know, you're not as intelligent as me. You're not as socially, economically valuable as me. You know, bootstrap yourself. Well, of course, if you think about bootstrapping, of course, it's a nonsense, because bootstrapping literally means lifting yourself up via your bootstraps. Of course, physically impossible, and for many of us, particularly now, after 45 years of completely and utterly failed neoliberalism, this seems to be the crunch year, really. The coming home to roost of the clucking neoliberal chickens, if you want to use imagine that imagery, that metaphor. It's a nonsense, you know. Most of us can't do it. It's one of those things, as I say, used by people who haven't had to bootstrap themselves, people who haven't had to struggle to put food on the table, struggle to get any education whatsoever of any worth, struggle to find a job that actually pays enough for you to live on, as in this wonderful first world leading economy in the United Kingdom. But I'm a bit of an oddity, because I have, I suppose, managed to, let's say, bootstrap one of my feet, another metaphor, in that, you know, I started off in a family with no money, literally. My dad was unemployed most of his adult life, certainly most of my life, from being born until he left us when I was 16. My mum, of course, was a stay-at-home mother looking after her children, me and my siblings. Then when he left us, she had no option but to work 2 or 3 part-time jobs to try and make up enough to pay the mortgage payments, you know. Valiant effort, but eventually we lost the house. So I'm not going to go into all that, but was not good in any sense, as a child and a young man, I left school because of that, and all the problems that happened, particularly in my family situation. Left school at 16 with no prospects. Why I wasn't really educated. I couldn't read and write to any sort of usable level at all. I didn't know my times tables, I still don't. The school was a disaster, it was a mess, because I went to very poor schools in poor area of Birmingham. Then we moved here to Rill. I went to a poor school here. So yeah, that didn't work. And then after 25 years, something like that, 23 years of trying to bootstrap myself educationally and economically, I eventually ended up at law school. A bit like Fidel himself. Yes, me. I ended up at law school. Again, I don't think I've got time because I'm trying to keep this short for once. But in a very roundabout, slightly odd, non-intentional way. I went to law school here, Bangor University. I got my law degree. It was a interesting experience. Not one that I ever expected to have in my life. Not an opportunity I ever expected to have. Again, because of the educational start I did or didn't have. But it happened, and even now looking back, and this was, I think I left law school 7 years ago. Looking back, it's still strange that I have to think I went there, I did those things. I've got my law degree on the wall somewhere. I was down there. And yes, I decided that when I'd finished, that I'd done it. I was intelligent enough to do it, hard-working enough to do it. I mean, my God, did I work hard? My God, did I work hard to get it? I mean, let's put it this way, I ran out of money about halfway through it, so it was really difficult. And I never have had anyone to sort of act as sort of bank of mum and dad, as a lot of people these days don't, in this wonderful first world country, Great Britain. And when I finished law school, I realised that I wanted to be, if I could be, to train as a barrister, because I realised, not for money, because actually a lot of barristers starting off don't make a lot of money. I mean, it's a hard slog. But to go on to become a barrister took a lot of money. It's still not what you know, it's who you know and what you've got. Which won't surprise you, I'm sure. But I needed about 40 grand, more or less, to do 1 year's training as a barrister. The next stage, basically. So anyway, I went and did something called a mini pupillage at a barrister's chambers in Liverpool. You apply and they invite you along, and you tag along with different barristers, and you sort of go to different sort of courts and different types of cases. So on my 2 days of the mini pupillage, first thing was was a murder case in Liverpool Crown Court. I was tagging along with the prosecuting lawyer. Very interesting. Got to see all the evidence with the police and everything, and all of that. And then I sort of did family sort of stuff in the family law. I think it was. There was a personal injury case, all this sort of stuff. Anyway, fascinating. But then after you do that, just to see if you'd like to do it, if you sort of thing you think if you could actually do it, if you got a chance to, basically, if you raised the money, Well, the only way for me to raise the money, because I bootstrapped myself to that stage, was to apply for a scholarship. And down in London there are things called Inns of Court. And if you're going to be a barrister, you have to apply to the Inns of Court as a member. So there's there's Gray's Inn, there's the Inner Temple, the Middle Temple, and I basically applied for scholarship at the Middle Temple. Got an invitation to interview for scholarship. Couldn't afford to get there. I literally didn't have the train fare to get to my scholarship interview. Incredibly disappointed, as you'd expect, after all of that, trying to get there. Then I thought, I'll wait another year, try and get some work on it. Again, there wasn't work around here, so I couldn't get any. I was also priced out of the market because I've got a law degree, which does not fit round here, and was not in a position to go where it, go south where it would fit. or a bigger city. And then I applied again 2 years later to the Middle Temple for the BPTC scholarship. Again was invited. Again, I just couldn't scrape together the train fare to go down there. And the point is, this isn't a moan about me, the point is, this is Britain. You create your opportunities for yourself, but you need, at some point you need the help. You need the things that are there, things like scholarship interviews that you're more than suited for. You've probably worked harder for while bootstrapping yourself as you're told to. But in this wonderful, forgiving, generous Britain that we all live in 2020, there's no understanding from the powers that be, the people that run things, the elite, let's say, that run these institutions, that run the government. There's no understanding of the fact that people simply don't have access to basic things like food, money to travel, a roof over their heads. They don't believe that really exists, That's why partly why there's runaway homelessness, runaway child poverty, food poverty, economic poverty, all over the country. That's why, because the people in charge refuse to accept that it really exists. And in places like Cuba, that are vilified and have been for decades, where we're told that, it's an evil dictatorship with a despot, Fidel Castro, that was alive, and Raul Castro, and these murdering revolutionaries like Che, who are really sort of war criminals rather than heroes, that are so terrible. Well, let me tell you, if I'd got my law degree, which I would have got much more easily in Cuba, because in Cuba they actually invest in their people. Everyone gets an education, everyone gets excellent healthcare. In fact, it's so good, their education and healthcare systems, that they export them around poor parts of the world. Not even poor parts of the world. We've had their doctors, their brigades of doctors, sent to Italy to help. That's what Cuba does. A supposed third world dictatorship, communist dictatorship, which of course is a nonsense in itself, which has been blockaded illegally by the US and with our support for 60 years. 60 years. Billions and billions and billions illegally stripped from their economy. The United Nations has condemned the United States for the sanctions and blockading of Cuba and its people for that almost entire time. Again this year voted to condemn it overwhelmingly in the United Nations. But you don't see that in the mainstream media, you don't see that in the news, you don't see it in the newspapers, you don't see that on television. So my point is, this is not the land of opportunity. Find out for yourself, because perhaps the land of opportunity actually lies in the places where we're told on a daily basis that living hell exists, and despotism and repression. Why would they lie? Well, I mean, you might say, why would they lie to us, James? Why would our government lie to us? Why would our mainstream media lie to us? Well, perhaps they don't want you to know how different your life may have been while trying to bootstrap yourself, while your children try to bootstrap themselves into success, into the professions, into the elite sphere, So, go and do your reading, go do your research. Go and find out about these places. Don't just be told what they are and what we are. We're good, they're bad. No. We're not good. We're not good. You know, we're not the good guys and they're the bad guys. This is the problem with all of this narrative about places like Cuba and China and Russia. We're the good guys, they're the bad guys. Well, go and ask large parts of Africa if we're the good guys and have been over the past 200 years. India, Asia, China, you know, go and ask them who are the good guys and who are the bad guys. So anyway, that's 20 minutes. Ciao for now, ciao from Shay, and see you next week with a different topic. Bye.